Hello, this is Josh with the Synchronized Universe or Reflections, just coming at you from my morning before work. I usually get to work a bit early so I could sit and read, or I can sit and vegetate, stare off into space, and wish I didn't have to go to work today. But at the same time, I'm also grateful to go to work and be able to make money and support my family because of where I've come from. I have a unique perspective on the importance of going to work and being able to pay your bills and have a roof over your head. A few years ago, I was actually homeless, to be completely honest, and it was ultimately my own fault. The toughest thing you can do in your life is recognize that something is your fault, and most of your own problems are your fault. And it's a hard pill to swallow, but you just got to do it. You gotta take that big old horse pill and eat it. But anyway, I digress. So, if anybody has listened to my stuff, they know that I've actually struggled with addiction in the past, and that was part of the reason I ended up homeless. And luckily, my sister, bless her heart, I love her so much, gave me a chance, because I ended up getting kicked out of where I was at, and I was trying my best to get clean, and she essentially let me live on her lawn in a little, one of those little trailers that you tow behind, little pop-up trailers. Anyway, so I lived down there for about 6 months with my four kids and my wife, and like that. I look at that and I'm like, man, this is where I've come from. And like, granted, I don't live in a huge house. I live in an apartment, but like rent up here is like 2K a month for this apartment. So it's wild out here. But I worked my butt off to get to have to completely rebuild my life, completely rebuild my credit. I didn't have my license. I had to literally pay all this debt just to get back on my feet because of all the stuff that I messed up that I, had to take ownership for and responsibility for and go. That's what I had to do. I didn't have a choice. So you sometimes a lot of these people in the drug world they go even further. They look at that kind of thing and then they use the drugs even more because they're depressed. But you got to use that stuff as a weapon. You got to use this pain, the suffering, the things as motivation because I look at my kids and I don't want them to ever experience that. And I'm, ashamed that they ever had to experience being, homeless for living in a hotel room. I mean, we only did that one night, but or two nights or something like that. But you have no idea how hard it is to rebuild your life unless you've actually done it. That's why ultimately I understand that, people in that world, it sucks, but you are ultimately choosing to stay there. Like a lot of the people on the streets, I feel for them. Like this guy the other night, I was walking, we were in Seattle going to a concert, and this guy asked me for money. I didn't have any change. So on the way back, we went back out to the car because the wife likes to smoke the cigarettes, or not cigarettes, but vape, and we can't do that inside. And ultimately, this man, as I was walking past, was then smoking the meth. Like out of a pipe on the street corner, plain view. We got kids walking by, and this man is over here smoking meth. And I wish I would have said something to him, but I knew it wasn't going to make any difference. And the thing that I wish I would have said is like, you're going to ask somebody for money, beg for money, and then turn around and be smoking freaking meth when I go back by. That is asinine. And quite a bit of the people out there on the street corners asking for money are freaking using it for meth because you can get food stamps from the government. So like it's not food that most of these people are looking for. There's very few things that is going to cause you to beg for money on the street corner, and one of the main things is drugs. Now, I'm not going to say that everybody is that's doing that is out there for drugs or money, or just out there for drugs. But I will promise you that a large percentage of those people are, because again, there are things that you can do when you're hungry. When you're suffering, you can go get food stamps, you can go buy food, and yes, you don't have any place to store it, but you don't need places to store it. You just get little snack foods here and there. I've done it. I know. I've been homeless, I've suffered, and you have to have the drive to get off those drugs and change your freaking life. The problem is, again, people like that are on drugs get stuck in a perpetual state of misery because it'll actually keep you trapped in the trauma cycle, keep you trapped in a traumatic memory, just like an alcoholic. It's no different. Like anybody who drinks all the time and then tries to talk about other people who are addicted is stupid because like alcohol is probably one of the worst addictions. You can just be a high functioning person with it. But these things, what they do is they keep you trapped inside of a memory. Oh, that's what you are. So ultimately, your brain and you are living in the past. And that is what happens with people when they experience high levels of trauma is that they drink and then they get a high from thinking about those memories. You get a high. That's why so many people get addicted to, things and get drunk. And I'm going to yell at my wife about something, 5 years ago, or I'm going to yell at my wife about something like this, or, vice versa. And you're accomplishing nothing by living in the past. 100%. I have a dad, bless his heart, that has lived like I talk to him once in a blue moon because he's a complete alcoholic, and every time I talk to him, he talks about the same stuff every single time. I missed this and I missed this, and like, dude, you're the one keeping you where you're at. That is the hardest pill again you're gonna have to swallow. Is that you are the one keeping yourself where you're at. No one else. You have no one to blame but you. You got to do something. You got to do something to change your life. These people out here on the streets have to take the steps to change your life. No one is going to be able to do it for you. You're not going to, accomplish your goals by sitting out there smoking one more thing of meth. You're not going to do it by taking another shot of heroin. You're never going to get to where you want by continuously doing the same things you're doing. I'm going to say that again. You're never going to get to where you want unless you change the things that you're doing. Einstein, not Einstein, but I don't know who it was now, said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. Is that Einstein? I don't know. I'm all of a sudden not able to remember, and this is live, so I'm not able to go back and delete it. But whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm a real person here, folks. Real person, and it's really 4:30 in the morning, right before I go to work. So definitely had some caffeine in the body. But again, I appreciate any person who's taking the time out of the day to listen to this and know that like ultimately I'm a real person. Just like everybody listening to this is a real person and I've gone through real things. I've lost a child. I've dealt with all kinds of stuff in my marriage. I've, you know, conquered more things in my little existence than most people have in their lifetime. And I'm a firm believer that you can overcome stuff and not be stuck. That is what you need to know. There are people out there just like you that are suffering. Most of the people that you talk to on a daily basis are suffering with something, are suffering with some kind of mental health stuff, like thinking that you're the only person that's depressed or suffers with anxiety is absolutely mind-blowingly silly because there's millions and millions of people just like you that are dealing with it. And I want to get back to the spot where I'm talking about, the chemical imbalance. Like the idea that depression is something you can never get rid of is stupid. That is something that these medical doctors tell you so that way they can pump you full of drugs and keep you on the freaking payroll because these drugs are expensive. I've been on every kind of mental health medicine there is, and every time I went back to talk to the doctor and tell them that I'm sad more, they would just give me more drugs. They would up my milligrams to the point where I was an unfeeling, uncaring zombie. That is what they do. I'm trying to tell people that. They've never tested you to test that you have a chemical imbalance. There is no test. They go by what you're telling them. And if you tell somebody that they're sad, their job is to get you right. In reality, you need to talk about this stuff. If you're depressed all the time, you got something in your life that you're not dealing with. And it's not going to go away until you deal with those emotions. That is the key. That's the key. You want to know the truth. You want to know how to get over your depression, your anxiety. Look into your childhood. Look at your traumatic events in your life. And just because you're not thinking about those things or may not be thinking about those things anymore does not mean they're gone. You have to properly deal with and release these emotions and forgive. Forgiveness, like in the Law of One, this series that I'm obsessed with, forgiveness, in forgiveness lies the stoppage of the wheel of karma. So, what that means is that forgiveness is the power to release the emotions that are trapped inside of your body. That is why forgiveness is a major focal point in most religious stuff, is because it is a powerful force. And again, forgiveness does not mean what the other person did was okay. It doesn't mean that that person was okay in doing what they do. Forgiveness releases the power that person has over you and releases these emotions that you have trapped in your body. I promise you, you have nothing to lose by trying that, by trying to deal with these problems and, talk to the people that you've not been talking to for 20 years. Get out and write it out. Take a pen and a notepad, or even type it out on your computer. Write it out. That is what you need to do. Start writing it out. If you have a problem talking to your significant other, write them letters. That is what saved mine and my wife's relationship, is writing, because I have a problem, because I've had anxiety most of my life. I have a problem expressing my feelings. So what I do, I write it out. We have entire freaking notebooks. Use the app OneNote. It's pretty much free on every app or every phone. Um, you can create joint notebooks, and or any note taking app you can do. Evernote works too, but I think you have to pay for that one. But make a joint notebook and write each other back and forth. That is one of the best ways I've ever experienced, to do this kind of stuff. That is a good tool, but just sitting around not talking about your stuff is what is getting you where you're at. Like, trying to live inside your head and try to predict what the other person is doing is what is keeping you where you're at. Like, you need to actually talk to each other in a relationship. You need to talk to the people that have harmed you. I mean, you don't necessarily even have to talk to them. Just forgive them. Like, that is the key here. But I'm about out of time, folks. Got to go to work. I appreciate anyone who has taken the time to listen to this. This is Josh, Reflections on YouTube, Synchronized Universe here. You have a great day.